watchers were surprised, to say the least, to see Meghan Markle pop up at the Balenciaga fashion show. Now, Rebecca, this was a significant moment for Meghan, wasn't it? Significant appearance.
It was a significant moment.
I heard you calling.
Paris, the city of lights, glamour, and power. But last night, it wasn't just glitter and gold, it became the city of tears. Right there, under the flashing cameras and the metallic hum of Balenciaga's runway, Meghan Markle, yes, the Duchess of Sussex, had her perfectly polished world crumble right in front of millions. It wasn't a scandal whispered in the tabloids this time. It was live, real, raw, and it left everyone watching completely speechless. This wasn't your average Fashion Week mishap. No. This was a meltdown, a full-on emotional unraveling, broadcast live across the globe. It had all started so perfectly. Meghan arrived in Paris, ready to make her grand entrance at Balenciaga's ultra-exclusive fall-winter showcase, her first major European appearance since stepping down from royal life. Every detail screamed comeback queen. Her hair, flawlessly sleek, her gown, custom-made, shimmering like starlight beneath the cameras, and that smile, poised, confident, ready to reclaim her narrative. When Meghan stepped onto that carpet, you could feel it. She was back. This was her moment, her re-entry into the world's most glamorous arena. But oh, fate had a darker plan. For months, insiders whispered that Meghan had been planning this moment like a cinematic comeback. Paris wasn't just another event on her calendar. It was her European redemption arc. After the lukewarm buzz around her Archetypes podcast and that fizzled-out Netflix deal, Paris was supposed to mark the start of a new Meghan era. Rebranding, rebirth, redemption, call it what you want, she was ready to shine again. Her message was crystal clear. Meghan wasn't retreating. She was re-entering, grand, glamorous, and wrapped in Balenciaga. But the universe? It had something else scripted. At first, the cracks were tiny, the kind only an insider would notice. A tremble in her smile, a flicker of discomfort in her eyes. Maybe exhaustion, maybe nerves. But then, oh, that moment. The one that froze the entire internet. As the live cameras rolled, Meghan's composure shattered. Her face tightened, her hand trembled, and she leaned over to whisper something to her handler. Then, without warning, she turned away, and the world gasped. Seconds later, Meghan Markle was crying. On camera. Tears. Real tears. Live. The clip spread instantly. TikTok lit up. Twitter exploded. Within an hour, every gossip page from TMZ to the Daily Mail had the same headlines splashed across their feeds. Meghan Markle breaks down during Balenciaga show, emotional collapse caught live.
Wanting around like she's Queen Cersei in Game of Thrones.
It was shocking, unbelievable. Everyone wanted to know what happened. And when the insiders started talking, oh boy, it sounded straight out of a movie. Apparently, tension had been simmering long before the show even began. You see, Meghan's invitation, while legitimate, wasn't as exclusive as her team made it sound. Sure, she was invited, but not as the VIP. Meanwhile, stars like Bella Hadid and Dua Lipa, front row royalty. Meghan, she was placed a few rows back, not even in the main press shot lineup. And that, for someone who thrives on precision and perception, stung. One insider even told Page 6, she expected to be seated beside the creative director, maybe next to Hollywood power players, but she wasn't even in the primary seating plan. Ouch. And it didn't stop there. Apparently, stylists and influencers were whispering about her outfit, saying it didn't fit Balenciaga's theme. Too heavy, too formal, too Meghan. You could practically hear the catty laughter as she passed. Then came the cherry on top. Balenciaga's creative director, Demna, was hugging and kissing VIPs left and right. But when he got to Meghan, just a polite nod. The air around her froze. Witnesses said she seemed tense, uneasy, checking her phone repeatedly. Probably waiting for coverage to go live, one journalist whispered. But the breaking point, oh, it was cinematic. Halfway through the show, the massive LED screens lit up with a stunning montage. A visual tribute to Balenciaga's rebellious legacy, vintage runway clips, cultural icons, moments of defiance and fame. But then, out of nowhere, a photo of Meghan and Harry appeared on the screen. Yes, that photo, the one of them leaving Buckingham Palace in 2020. Then, flash, another, a tabloid headline. Duchess divides opinion, followed by, gasp, a zoom in on her Oprah interview. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Was this a setup? Was Balenciaga trolling Meghan on purpose? No one could believe what they were seeing. Later, the brand clarified. It wasn't meant to mock her. It was part of a theme about cultural disruptors, showcasing how fame and rebellion intersect with scrutiny. So, technically, Meghan was included symbolically, not maliciously. But oh, that didn't matter, because in that very moment, under the spotlight and the whispers of Paris, Meghan froze. Her smile disappeared. Her entire expression collapsed, like a mask slipping, and behind those eyes you could see it. Shock, humiliation, heartbreak. She leaned toward her publicist and mouthed something like, "Turn it off." Then she turned away, tears streaming down her face. A nearby cameraman caught every second. Within minutes, chaos. The internet blew up. Fans were divided. Some defended her, calling it a human moment. Others mocked her, calling it karma. One viral comment cut like a knife. "Paris doesn't do pity." She came to rule the runway and ended up crying on it. Out.
Balenciaga creative director, let's look at this.
Fashion insiders later revealed Meghan's team hadn't approved her image in the montage, meaning she was blindsided. And for someone who built her brand around controlling the narrative, that must have been the ultimate betrayal. Backstage, pure panic. Witnesses said Meghan locked herself inside a private suite for 20 minutes, crying, calling, trying to compose herself. A staff member reportedly whispered, "She's done. She's leaving," and she did. Before the final model walked, Meghan slipped out the back, head down, flanked by security, mascara smudged, phone in hand. But of course, the cameras caught her exit. That image, Meghan Markle, eyes red, leaving the Balenciaga show in tears, went viral in minutes. Over 20 million views across platforms. And everyone wanted to know why. Was it humiliation? Was it exhaustion? Was it sabotage? Some whispered about industry snubs. Others said something much deeper was going on. A Paris journalist later claimed Meghan was overheard arguing on the phone before the show. Something about Netflix, image rights, and creative control. If true, then this meltdown wasn't spontaneous. It was the breaking point of months of pressure and exhaustion. Whatever the reason, Paris didn't just see the Duchess of Sussex that night. They saw Meghan, the woman, stripped of armor, trembling under the weight of the spotlight she once commanded. And that's what made it unforgettable. By the next morning, Paris had already moved on. But the internet, oh, it was on fire. That 30-second clip of Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, crying during Balenciaga's show had morphed into a full-blown international spectacle. Every feed, every gossip page, every trending tag. There she was, the Duchess, mid-tier, with the Paris lights sparkling around her like shattered glass. Memes were born overnight. Slow-motion edits, dramatic music overlays. Every corner of social media had their own version of that moment. And if Meghan's team thought they could quietly make it disappear, well, bless their hearts. Because once the internet grabs something, there's no turning back. Inside Montecito, sources say panic hit like a thunderclap. Meghan's PR team went into full-blown crisis mode. Phones were buzzing, emails flying. A source described the mood in her camp as total chaos. Nobody knew what to do. Apparently, Meghan herself was furious. She demanded that the footage be taken down immediately, but there was one tiny, devastating detail. Balenciaga owned the broadcast rights. It was live-streamed, archived, shared, clipped, downloaded. The genie was out of the bottle, and no PR magic could shove it back in. The media smelled blood. Within hours, headlines across the globe turned brutal. British tabloids were merciless. The Sun ran with tears, tantrums, and tension. Meghan's Paris breakdown stuns fashion elite. And the Daily Mail? They practically threw a party dissecting her every gesture. The hand clutching her chest, the trembling lip, the quick escape, one columnist sneered.
Markle has come under fire for attending the Balenciaga fashion show after the brand sustained enormous reputational damage for
It was the performance of a lifetime, just not the one she wanted. Even American outlets weren't kind. Commentators described it as the fall of the queen of composure. One particularly savage writer summed it up. For a woman who built her empire on image control, losing composure in Paris was like a general dropping her sword mid-battle, but it didn't stop there. Oh, it got uglier. Behind the scenes, whispers swirled that Balenciaga's team wasn't exactly sympathetic. They weren't thrilled about the crying Duchess stealing the spotlight. Apparently, some insiders viewed her tears as a disruption, not a dramatic highlight. They wanted elegance, not emotion, one source said. They didn't invite her to make a scene. To make things worse, a few influencers seated near the runway were caught on video, laughing. Yes, laughing, whispering things like, "She's crying again." Over what now? The video went viral within hours. And just like that, the mockery had gone global. Meanwhile, Meghan's team scrambled to rewrite the story. Within hours, a perfectly polished statement hit the press. It read, "The Duchess of Sussex was deeply moved by Balenciaga's tribute to women who've endured public scrutiny. The emotional moment reflected her compassion and connection to the message of resilience and empowerment." Well, it was beautifully written, but nobody was buying it. The public saw through it instantly. Comments flooded in, calling it spin, damage control, and another act in the Meghan show. The buzzwords, resilience, empowerment, compassion, felt too rehearsed, too tidy for what was clearly an emotional collapse. Thousands of users online pointed out the irony, how Meghan, who spent years projecting confidence and control, now looked fragile when faced with the same spotlight she once used to her advantage. One viral tweet summed it up perfectly. She wanted Paris to remember her as a fashion icon. Instead, they'll remember the tears. But beyond the gossip, beyond the laughter, there was still something painfully human in all of this. Behind those PR walls, Meghan was reportedly devastated, not just embarrassed, humiliated. According to a source close to the Sussex Circle who spoke to People magazine, Meghan said, "It wasn't supposed to go like this." She'd imagined a triumphant return, a moment of renewed grace, acceptance, and power. Instead, she became a headline. Again, Paris had reminded her just how divided the world still was about her. Some applauded her vulnerability, others reveled in her downfall. Even within royal circles, the reactions were split right down the middle. Some fans said, maybe she's just human after all. Maybe the pressure finally cracked her, but the majority weren't as forgiving. To them, this wasn't just a bad moment. It was proof that the Duchess's once flawless armor was finally breaking apart. And while Meghan was holed up in her hotel suite, licking her wounds, the internet had already moved to the next chapter. Conspiracies, yes. Because in the world of celebrity drama, no meltdown is ever just a meltdown. Theories began swirling like wildfire. Some people were convinced the entire thing was staged. They pointed to the conveniently placed cameras, the perfect lighting, and how her team had a statement ready so fast. She knew what she was doing, one Twitter thread claimed. She wanted sympathy. She wanted to look vulnerable again. But others, and this is where it gets juicy, said she was set up. Rumors claimed that Balenciaga producers knew including her image would trigger a reaction. Some even alleged they joked about it beforehand, saying, "She's good publicity no matter what happens." Can you imagine? If true, that means Meghan walked right into a trap she didn't even know existed. Either way, one thing was clear. She had lost control of her story. For a woman who spent years mastering her image, the narrative had slipped from her hands, and the internet wasn't giving it back. By the time she flew back to California, the headlines were still raging. Variety called it an emotional PR disaster. The New York Post went even further, printing, "Paris Fashion Week, Meghan Markle's comeback crumbles in real time." Brutal. And as if that wasn't enough, the fallout spread like dominoes. Balenciaga's PR team quietly distanced themselves. No photos, no mentions, no reposts. Even the brand's official social accounts, normally quick to celebrate celebrity guests, skipped Meghan entirely. That's when the panic truly hit home, because Meghan's team had plans for Paris. Big ones. A Vogue feature, photo spreads, brand collaborations. All of it on ice. No one wanted to touch the controversy. And back in California, Harry, who had stayed behind in Montecito, was reportedly livid. According to insiders, he had begged her not to go. He told her Paris was too risky, one source said, too high profile, too soon, but Meghan had insisted. She wanted to remind the world who she was, confident, elegant, powerful, and sadly the world was reminded, just not in the way she hoped.